well, I guess, so we've played one of your older tracks, I guess, that's been recorded. So where did the Revelators, Aaron Carpenter and the Revelators come from? Like, how long have you guys been around for?
I've been around for just over 2 years, 2.5 years. We kind of got pulled together for a fundraiser concert in Waiheke Island to stop the marina from going ahead.
Yeah.
And I got approached by John Hawkesby, who lives there, and he asked me to put a band together, and I just chose all the musicians that I wanted to play with.
Yeah.
And a couple of them I've already been playing with, and we put a band together especially for that.
Yeah. And so these are all people that live on Waiheke?
Correct, everyone lives on Waiheke.
Yeah.
It's quite a good music scene going on over there.
Yeah, well, because they have the jazz festival that they have each year, and they're... wouldn't say it surprises me every time I go over there, but it just seems like there's a lot going on for what some people might think is just a little island.
No, it's huge. Yeah, it's just in the last 2 or 3 years, it's just become a massive place, and tourism's really sort of kicked off.
Yeah.
But the musicians are still there. I mean, prices of houses and rent went up, and a lot of musicians had to move off the island. But there's still a good group of us, and all releasing albums.
Yeah.
Working.
Is that because? I guess there's two sides to the the island and Waiheke and things. There's obviously the, like you say, the tourism side and this beautiful place there. But it has always been for a long, long time a place where people kind of used to go to get away and still be, I guess, close into things but away from everything else.
Yeah, that's right. It used to be a place where people could, especially musicians and potters and poets, could go and rent a house for cheap.
Yeah. And
just concentrate on what they do. And it's just a beautiful place to sort of have inspiration. It's just the beaches and the people are real friendly, and yeah, it's always been like that, and it still is.
Yeah. How long have you been on Waiheke for?
I moved from Dublin, where I was living for 2.5 years, straight to Waiheke about 14 years ago.
Yeah.
I went there by mistake just to visit a friend.
Yeah.
And then went back to Dublin and sold everything up and bought a yacht and sailed across to Waiheke Island.
And that's been it?
I've been backwards and forwards to Europe playing music,
yeah.
And visiting friends, but it's been my base for a good 14 years now.
Yeah. And where did you like grow up?
I grew up on the mean streets of Howick.
Yeah.
But when I came back after being travelling for 12 years, it didn't kind of seem like the Howick that I grew up. And when I went to Waiheke, it just felt like New Zealand in 1975, in early 80s. It had that kind of old school vibe, and that's what attracted me to it.
Yeah. Did you, like growing up, were you musical? Did you ever think that this would be what you kind of end up doing?
Well, I've always been playing music since I was 16, 17, and I never had huge... the reason I started playing music because I wanted to travel. Travelling was my main thing, and when I finished my building apprenticeship, I grabbed my guitar and some tools. I never picked up the tools whilst I was travelling. I just played the guitar, busking and playing in bars, and I went to the Greek islands for 3 years, and played there and then to Dublin, and yeah, it was just an easy way to make money, playing covers and writing songs. Yeah, it's a good lifestyle.
And so have you always, that whole time, have you kind of been writing your own music that whole time? Or?
Well, in my early 20s I was playing 7 nights a week, sometimes 2 gigs in a night, and by the time I went to bed and got up, and then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the last thing I wanted to do was write a song. So it wasn't until I got to Waiheke and I started going through my notes and some of the stories that I'd, done whilst I was overseas, that's when I started to write. And I had some sort of quiet time.
Yeah. Radio Burger Fuel, Aaron Carpenter of Aaron Carpenter and the Revelators having a chat with us. He is going to jump on and give us an acoustic number very shortly as well, which is awesome. You were talking about how it kind of took you, I guess, getting away to Waiheke to start writing all this music. Is that, when you're writing, is it quite a solo thing for you? Like, do you have to put time aside to go and do that, or is it just kind of an...
It's really interesting how songwriting kind of works for me. I sort of I call it trapping the muse.
Yeah.
I've got to set up a kind of a trap for her or the muse to come in, and then the songs come. Like, I'll put candles and and have a glass of wine and dim the lights and try and trap the muse.
Yeah.
And then it sort of naturally just happens like that, and then you get a couple of lines and a riff comes in. I wrote most of the songs for this album in an old barn, and that just had a lot of atmosphere. We called it Albano. It's up in the hills of Paimelon Bay.
Yeah.
And that's where Nick Abbott came and recorded the album.
Yeah, so this is where a lot of it was written is where it was recorded.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, that's really
because I felt comfortable in that situation in an old barn, and had a good acoustic properties to it.
Do you think if you made this album in a different place, like if you were living in the middle of the city in Wellington, could you have made this album, or would it be like, would it sound like it has?
I think the barn, Albano, has made a huge impact on the way that the album sounds. Nick came in with some really old school mics, and he mic'd the barn as an instrument, and we all played the songs live, and you can really hear the barn coming through in the reverbs, and so I definitely think that the barn's got a huge part to do with it, and the environment up in the hills there, especially as I wrote quite a lot of the songs in that barn.
Yeah.
For sure.
So basically, when people are listening to Pretty Lies, this album, it is a representation of what they might hear if they came and heard you guys play live in that barn.
Yes, pretty much the same. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Radio Burger Fuel, Lee here with Aaron Carpenter. So obviously, this album is out, just being released.
Yes.
And
Friday. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of out in the world, which must be an exciting time for you to have put all this years and years of work. I suppose it must be years of work for you, really.
Yeah, the songs do go back quite a long way.
Yeah.
There's some really new ones that were only written, towards the last 2 weeks of the album being, finished.
Yep.
Whoops, there goes one. So yeah, it's very exciting. And we're heading off on the road, so that's always good times.
Yeah, well, 'cause I wanted to ask you about that. So you do have a gig Friday night?
Yep, Tuning Fork, which is one of the best venues I've ever played. It's an amazing place. I've played there quite a few times now, and everybody in there is really, really cool. And then we're off to, I've written on my hand,
good,
26th of August at Wonder Bar in Littleton, and then the 2nd of September in Wellington at the Meow.
Yeah.
And Harry Lyon's coming to help us out on one of those dates as well.
Oh, awesome, that's really cool. And so, now that the album's out, you'll be touring, do you know what's kind of happening next? Do you get a bit of a break, a bit of a breather?
Yeah, between New Zealand, then we're planning some stuff in Melbourne.
Yep.
And then we've got a few other things, possibly Japan as well, so
cool.
We're just working out on those. But main thing is to get this tour out of the way, and then we'll decide what we're going to do after that.
Yeah. And are you guys still writing, still kind of doing all of that?
I was just talking to Rodney before about that. There's not a lot of time for writing at the moment, but I'll put some time aside.
You got the ideas stored
away?
Yeah,
I've got a notebook full of ideas and lines, and that I'm sure I don't freak out about that. That just happens naturally.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, hey, Aaron, thank you so much for coming in and
thanks,
having
Lee.
a chat with us
Yeah,
today.
cheers.
And looking forward to hearing you do your thing. So,
Cool, man.
so the track that you're going to play for us, this acoustic track, is what's the title track from the album, right?
Yes, it's the title of the album, and it's that was written by just by one line that someone in the band gave me, and then I put a riff to it, and then we all got together and worked out how it was going to be.
Yeah.
That's how it turned out.
So Pretty Lies, is it kind of self-obvious what it's about when we listen?
You don't need a crowbar to get into the meaning of the song, but it's I think it's okay. It's hidden away there.
Awesome. Well, we'll let you take it away. Special acoustic version of Aaron Carpenter and the Revelators. This is Pretty Lies on Radio Burger Fuel.
Cool, man. Thanks, Lee.
Easy. Cool.